We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
You have fun. Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you.
Would you like to work closer to home, save money on gas, and be rewarded for your hard work and attendance? Then Bellisio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Bellisio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Bellisio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at belisiofoods.com/careers.
Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of the morning show right here on Main Street TV. Once again, we are joined by our good friend, Telegram editor Pete Wilson. He's here to bring you the morning news update brought to you by Nia Henry, an agent for Appalachia Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell or have any real estate needs, give Nia a call at 740-418-4135, and she'll be out working for you. So how was your weekend, sir?
It was busy but nice.
Very good.
Watched the like a lot of other people in this neck of the woods. Watched the Bengals.
Yeah.
Didn't end the way we wanted. Very inopportune hit of the quarterback out of bounds.
Okay. I've seen a lot on Facebook about it.
Maybe was the difference in the game. Allowed the Chiefs to attempt a makeable field goal, which of course they made.
Mm-hmm.
So great game though. Great game. It just didn't go our way at the end.
Very good.
If you're a Bengal fan, if you're a Brown fan, you hate the Bengals anyway, so they're probably happy.
Right. I
got a lot of those around here.
I did not watch the game, but I did see a lot of people not happy on Facebook.
Right.
So,
yep.
Anyhow, so we're going to start with me this morning then, sir?
Well, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Okay.
Because you covered a very important news story on Friday evening. Of course, we talked about it last week on TV, and of course reported on it on our other media platforms as well. The GOP Central Committee, specifically the Wellston Caucus, 3 members, had the responsibility of trying to appoint a new mayor to serve for the remainder of the term, which is the remainder of this year, and then also a law director. 2 vacancies, very important vacancies in Wellston City government, and you were there to report on it. So you tell us about it, sir.
So this happened on Friday evening, January 27th, and I will say that following the meeting, we had a newly appointed Wellston mayor, sir.
It did happen.
Based on, former Wellston Mayor Charlie Hudson recommended his service director, Anthony Brenner, for that position, and there was actually 3 people that showed up to seek that appointment, and the committee must have agreed with Hudson because they appointed Anthony Brenner to that position, and he will serve that position, like you said, through the end of the year. The other individuals that showed up were Wellston Mayor Connie Pelletier, former Wellston Mayor Connie Pelletier, and former Wellston Council member Tom Clark. You can see Connie here addressing the committee, and she talked a little bit about, said there's a good team in place, and she was wanting to join that team to kind of keep moving the city in a positive direction. Talked a little bit about during her, she served for a total of 8 years, 2 terms. And she talked a little bit about how, the city was in the fiscal emergency that it was, and during her tenure, how the city, along with her team, was able to come out of that fiscal emergency. And then Tom Clark, who served on council for many, many years, was there as well. I think we had a picture of him as well that Dylan could put up on the screen, but he spoke about some of the things that he would like to see happen in the city. Talked a little bit about stuff that happened when he was on council, and anyway, a little bit about the vote, Pete, if I could. You had 3 members of the Central Committee for that Northern Caucus up there in Wellston. Those members were Arthur Matthews, Cheryl Ramey, and you had Adam Massey were the 3 members that could vote.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it was a little confusing, and I streamed this live on Friday, and there was some people commenting saying that they were a little confused by what happened. So I'd like to explain it a little bit if I could. So the way that it went, Northern Caucus member Arthur Matthews nominated Brenner, and then Raymer had seconded Brenner's nomination. Well, then she had also nominated Pelletier, and then Massey seconded Pelletier's nomination. Well, there was a little confusion, and the chair, Ms. Stepp, did not hear the second for the nomination for Brenner. So they went ahead and voted on Pelletier. Well, when that vote happened, there was only one vote, and that was Massey that voted for Pelletier, and the other 2 did not. And they did this with a show of hands vote. That way, they couldn't do like a secret ballot or anything like that. It was, a public ballot there. And when it came time to vote for Pelletier, the Arthur Matthews and Cheryl Ramey voted in favor of Brenner, and Massey did not vote for him. So that's the way the votes fell. So then Brenner was appointed, and he was sworn in. We had a picture there as well, if you can put that on the screen. So here is Anthony Brenner being sworn in as Wellston Mayor, and he's being sworn in by Wellston President Council. That's Rick Hudson,
An interim mayor right now.
and he's also acting mayor at the time. And this is also Charlie Hudson's brother, and he swore him in right after the vote there at that meeting on Friday night. So, like you said, they were also there to appoint a law director, because former law director Randy Dupree had resigned from that position to take on the position of Jackson County prosecutor, and nobody stepped forward for that position, Pete. Nobody was interested, nobody submitted or showed up at the meeting. So the caucus chair said that they would leave it up to the council to fill that position. So, and I talked to Hudson after the meeting, and it sounded like they may have to change. I don't know if there's an ordinance on the books or how they do it exactly, but they may have to change that a little bit to where they can open it up to the county versus just in the city of Wellston, because they're a little limited pool there in the city of Wellston. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. I'm sure they'll probably discuss that at an upcoming council meeting.
Right, absolutely. And, if folks are wondering about the third candidate, Tom Clark.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned him. Well, the reason there wasn't a vote on Tom, if I understand this correctly, Jeremiah, was he didn't receive a nomination.
Right. Yeah, nobody nominated Mr.
His
Clark.
name was not out on the floor. He may have been there
and spoke.
He was seeking the appointment, but you got to have someone to nominate you. And like Cheryl Raymer, for instance, nominated both candidates. A nomination is not a vote. It may seem like, well, are you for both people? That's just to get it out there.
Right.
So
they can vote on it.
The 3 members can vote. And normally there's 4 members on that caucus, but one of those positions is vacated right now. It has not been replaced, so it was up to those 3 people. Now, we want to emphasize that all 3 of those people who were seeking the appointment, Brenner, Pelletier, and Clark, we understand all of them are going to run for the full term, which is on the ballot this year.
Yeah.
And
should be come May, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. They will run, well, provided that they all choose to run as Republicans.
Right.
We presume
that they would.
That they will. Correct.
Yeah.
Tom Clark, I think, has served both as a Republican and independent in the past, but he was seeking the Republican appointment. So I would think that he will also seek the Republican nomination, but he also has the option of falling back and running as an independent, which comes a little bit later. That way, you're not in a primary where, if you lose, you're out. So we have more and more independent candidates in recent years, so that could happen as well.
Well, I will say that I talked to Margaret Casey following the meeting, and she's the director at the Jackson County Board of Elections.
Mhm.
And she told me that Mr. Clark has already filed.
As a Republican. Okay, well, that ends that question.
Yeah.
Right. And
And the other two are expected to file. They have before February. I think the final day is February 1st.
right, which is Wednesday,
Yeah.
by the way.
And I talked to Mr. Brenner following the meeting as well, because he was on the fence,
Mhm.
as we had discussed last week, on whether or not he would run. He said it all depended on how the appointment went, on
Right.
that meeting. And he said that his paperwork is all lined up and ready to go, and that he would be submitting it to run as well.
Right. So, the filing deadline is not until Wednesday, 4 o'clock, but it appears that we're going to have a three-way primary in the city of Wellston for mayor.
Right.
And that does not preclude a Democrat running. It does not preclude independents or even write-ins. But the filing deadline for write-in and independents are later in the year. And so, as far as the whole election cycle, the November ballot, it's yet to be determined. So we shall see on that.
We should.
But certainly very interested. And on the law director situation, you say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Well, you and I have been around the process for a while. It's not unusual to have a contracted
Position
legal
for that.
advisor
Yeah.
or law director or city attorney, whatever you want to call them. As a matter of fact, in Jackson County, in Oak Hill, in Jackson, and in Colton, there is a contracted law director. It all happens to be the same person, Joe Kirby.
Mhm.
In Jackson, they do call him a city attorney, not a law director. Some purists say law director has to be elected. But I think Randy Dupree was an elected law director, but it looks like Wellston will have to go back to a contracted situation. However, that position, like the mayor, will be on the ballot this year. Doesn't mean that anyone's going to seek it. Nobody sought the GOP appointment, but it will be on the ballot. So
Right.
even if somebody is contracted as the legal advisor, law director, city attorney, whatever you want to call that position, it could be that somebody will come forward on the ballot there. So we will see. All right.
Pete, if I could,
Mhm.
following the appointment, I got to sit down with Mr. Brenner, who is now the mayor of the city of Wellston, and we did a real quick introduction video. If Dylan could share
Oh,
that
yes,
real
let's
quick.
do that.
Sorry, it looks like I'm having some trouble finding that.
Okay. All right.
If we could circle back, I'll have that ready for you in just a second.
Sure. So go ahead, Pete.
Okay.
We'll circle back, he said.
Okay.
He's
all
got to
right.
find it real quick.
All right. Well, we'll cover something else first, and while Dylan looks for that video, this is an unusual story from the city of Jackson. It's not like it's blaring headlines, but to me, it's almost shocking.
Mhm.
At the end of the year, the different city departments do their statistical reports to kind of show what happened in 2022 or whatever.
Yes.
Well, at the first meeting of Jackson City Council of the year, Jackson Police Chief Brent Hinch talked about statistics for 2022, and this one just blew my mind. You hear in the national media, and it's also true locally as well. There's some crime that takes place. I mean, there always will be. And I know drugs are often the crime that you hear about the most, but one crime that used to be a concern, it's always a concern, but how many burglaries, home burglaries, do you think there were in the city of Jackson this past year based on experience? Just a guess.
I'd say at least a handful, Pete, I would think.
Okay, well, whatever. I'll be the spoiler. There was zero reported home burglaries.
So does that mean people are taking care of it themselves?
Well, no reports were made. No reports were made to police about home burglaries. Now that's home burglaries. That's
Right.
not commercial burglaries or sheds or anything like that. But there were no burglaries reported at all. Now I've talked to a police officer before when this statistic was given to me informally, and that veteran law enforcement officer's interpretation of it, and this is just his opinion, speculation, but informed, educated speculation,
Mhm.
was that the drugs are so prevalent and so available that in the past, many of the property crime was, they feel, connected to drugs.
Okay.
Meaning that somebody was doing a crime, breaking into a home because of drugs, wanting to get drugs or get money fence things so you could buy drugs. The drugs are supposedly so available, fentanyl, methamphetamine, marijuana, on down the line. They are so available that they don't have to steal to get drugs.
Don't have to
So
resort to that.
that's kind of a negative slant on it, but still positive. No home burglaries.
That's
okay,
interesting.
Well, Dylan, do we have the video now?
Yep, got
All
it
right,
for you.
this is Jeremiah Shaver interviewing the new mayor appointee, Anthony Brenner, and we do congratulate him on the appointment.
We do.
Hello, I'm Anthony Brenner. I'm the new mayor of the city of Wellston. I was appointed this evening. I'm excited, looking forward to this transition for the city for the remainder of this year. We have many great things on the venue that we're going to be working through. Continuing our downtown landscaping, working towards our new water plant. I promise to keep the progress going that we've had, and I look forward to serving the city.
So there you go, P. There's Mr. Brenner giving us a little introduction as mayor for the first time there.
Right, and we do want to let you know, if you're interested in this story, we do have an initial story posted online. We've also had it on the radio as well, and I know that you're going to be adding to that story for both the website and, of course, it will be featured, I'm sure, on the front page type news in Wednesday's print edition of the Telegram.
Yep.
Okay, well, as far as breaking news, this occurred just yesterday. And I do thank the Jackson Police Department for helping me get some information, along with Jackson Fire Chief David Channel. But we had a vehicle fire yesterday in the morning, 9:45 a.m. It happened. There you see it. It was definitely on fire.
It's very close to the building too, there, isn't it, Pete?
It is pretty close, but I understand no property damage to the hotel there. That is the Red Roof Inn at 1000 AC Avenue. Kind of sits there right off US 35. You can see it from the highway, and you get to AC Avenue off McCarty Lane. If you haven't been back that way, 84 Lumber back that way as well.
Yep.
But that vehicle caught fire at 9:45 a.m. And
it looks like a nice one, Pete.
It was a 2020 Dodge Challenger. And so it was a car. And as you can see, engulfed it was. As you can guess, David Channel, fire chief, said total loss. But there is a little bit of a video with this. We thank the Jackson Police Department for it. I think they arrived there before the fire department. They often do, because they don't have to go and get their equipment and get in a fire truck and all. They just go. And this is what the police department was greeted by when they got there. I'm not sure that anybody actually saw it catch fire because it was parked. But what happened was the gentleman who owns the car is William Bradley of Atmore, Alabama.
Okay.
He works in Waverly, and he had been at work that morning, and he's staying at the Red Roof. He drove to Jackson because that's where he's staying at the hotel. And he parked his car there approximately an hour and a half or 2 hours before the fire was reported. He was inside the hotel, and then, at 9:45 a.m., suddenly his car is in flames. He did not report any problems driving the vehicle. He did not see it catch fire. Didn't report any mechanical problems. But if they're in front of the hotel in daylight, obviously you're going to see it on fire. But it appeared that it started in the engine compartment. So it might have been something, electrical there. But it was a complete loss. It was not parked right next to another vehicle, so there was no slight damage to an adjacent vehicle, and he actually backed it into a parking spot, and so the biggest part of the fire was in the front of the car, so there was no damage to the exterior of the hotel either. Just enough space there that did not turn out to be a problem. Cause of the fire remains officially undetermined, but like we say, it started in the engine compartment. I do want to thank the Jackson Police Department, kind of the partner in getting this news out. They sent me the video clip that you saw, and also the photo, which we do also have posted on our website, thetelegramnews.com.
Very good.
All right, we'll stay with the city of Jackson, Jeremiah. And, we talked about Mayor Randy Evans giving his State of the City speech, and he did a really nice job. It was kind of a perspective thing. He assessed where the city was when he was campaigning, what he wanted to do as he took office, and that was in 2020, and where things stand now. And then he also looked forward to this year and beyond. And we already reported kind of in depth about the first part of that piece. We're going to have a follow-up story, we hope, in Wednesday's paper talking about this year and beyond,
Okay.
because he did address that as well.
Kind of a part two.
Right, part two is what it is of his State of the City speech, like the president does the State of the Union and the governor does the State of the State.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he talked about is some of the infrastructure projects that's going to take place. Of course, there's been a lot in the last a couple of years. The income tax has allowed the city to do a lot, the new city income tax, bringing in $3.8 million a year, much more than they thought that it would. Which I guess indicates that business is good within the city, because that's where it comes from. People who are working, people who work in the city, who don't live in the city, and of course the residents themselves. But a lot of infrastructure projects, a lot of paving going on. This will be 2023 will be the third year of the paving program, about $1.5 million worth of paving, and it still won't get it all done. He figures it will take every bit of 5 years to finish, and then it'll be time to start all over again, maybe longer than 5 years. But there'll be a lot of paving taking place. They'll be determining here in the next several months where they're going to pave, but they'll do it on a priority basis. The roads that are the worst and or the roads that are traveled the most.
Yeah, it usually has a list for that, I understand.
They will have a list of that, and some of the big infrastructure projects taking place are the Mill Street Water and Sewer Project, the Mitchell Street to Wood Avenue Sewer Replacement Project, a main trunk line for sewer lining throughout the city, and then the South Street Water Line Replacement Project. And we just rattled those off, but all those are $1 million plus projects. Cost a lot of money. There is some income tax money, some city money, but mainly we're talking about the success of the city getting grants, and that's a two-pronged thing. You got to go out and get them, give the city credit for that, but there's lots of more money available in recent years because of COVID, because of the American Rescue Plan Act, et cetera. But you do have to go out and get it, and those people who are ready for it, they identify the needs, they have the needs, they're the ones who are going to get the money, and there's lots of that going on in the city of Jackson. But internally, there's some other things too. For instance, they're going to be doing some work at the parks this year. At Hillcrest Park there, Dylan, if you can throw that picture up, thank you very much. That is one of two new shelter houses that have been put up just in the last several months.
That looks nice, Pete.
Yeah, at Hillcrest Pool and Park. There's actually two of them. That one is to the left of the pool.
Okay.
There's also another new one to the right of the pool. So, areas for lounging, for picnicking, parties even.
Is this one near the skating rink, Pete?
Yes, that one is near the skate park, and there's been improvements done to the skate park as well, thanks to a grant. We'll talk about that in a future article and here on TV as well. But there used to be, for folks who have been around Jackson for a while, there used to be a shelter house down by the road.
Mm-hmm.
They tore that down because there was roof problems. They figured they're just better off building a new one. They ended up building two. In the coming year, at Hillcrest, they're going to be doing a couple of new projects as well. They're going to be doing fencing, improving the basketball courts, and expanding the parking area. And all that is, I think, with city money and in-house. One of the things that Mayor Evans has stressed is let's use our own workers to do some of this stuff, and then you're not contracting it out. You're probably saving some money, and you're more in control of when the work is done. Secondly, there's going to be more work done at Hammertown Lake. Part of this is city money, part of this is grants. It's going to be kind of exciting out there. A new boat ramp will be built. There will be a dock with a kayak launch. That has been a very popular recreational thing, which if you're not into that, you don't realize it because Hammertown's out several miles from the city. It is technically part of the city. It's city property. But a lot of people like to kayak.
They do. I've seen a lot of people out there, and especially during the trout festival, you see a lot of folks bring those kayaks in and fish from the kayaks.
Right, and they're going to make sure that there's handicapped accessibility because if you do have some kind of disability, it is frustrating not to be able to have the same chance at recreation. So they'll make sure that is worked into the projects. Also, they're going to do parking improvements out at Hammertown. So if you want to see see, hear, and read about all the new things happening in the city, that will be, you can see that in an article that will be in Wednesday's edition of the paper. We're also having an article, or not an article, but a story on the radio as well that kind of does the skinny on that. We want to report a couple things out of Vinton County that are significant. Red Thompson Jr. isn't here today, but he's allowing me to tell you a couple things about Vinton County. Number one, they have a new health commissioner in Vinton County.
Okay.
Her name is Sierra Fox, and she replaces Janelle McManus. Janelle McManus has been the health commissioner, or not the health commissioner. Her title actually was health administrator. This new person, Sierra Fox, is going to be titled the health commissioner, and there she is, a picture of her. She's going to be very prominent in Vinton County. She lives in Athens County, but for a young person, she has quite a resume. She has a Master of Public Health degree from Ohio University. She is currently pursuing a doctorate in public health from Capella University.
Oh.
And in her most recent position, she was Director of Grant Development and Management at nearby Hocking College in Nelsonville. So she will be taking over from Janelle McManus. And we had a story last week in the Telegram. It's also online. And Red Thompson Jr. has interviewed Janelle McManus, and we're going to have kind of like a profile retirement story on her going in as well. She is leaving Vinton County to become the new health commissioner in Ross County.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Sierra Fox and to Janelle McManus. And another one that we want to remind you of, because it's so important if you're from Vinton County and you have business with the Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office, publicly at least, is now operating completely from its new digs on State Route 93. The address is 31385 State Route 93, and there it is. You can see the sheriff's cruiser in the parking lot. That is the former home of the Vinton County Department of Developmental Disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have a adult shelter workshop there some time ago. It moved, but the DD offices remained there until very recently. They moved out late last year, so the sheriff's office could move into this facility. It is a county-owned building, and the reason that they moved in there is they have been in a historic building. That's a nice way to put it. Since almost the Civil War. It's right next to the courthouse, but that building no longer in very good physical shape.
Yeah. Red was
And
saying
so
160 years over there.
It's been a long, long time, almost as long as Vinton County has been a county. But this new building, as you can see, I'm not sure how old it is, but it has a modern look to it. It's going to be much more adaptable to the needs of the sheriff's office. They've got the communications all lined up. That was a big deal, changing all that. And then I think they're going to have, I don't know whether they're in there now, they're going to have several holding cells in there that will help them with, incarceration things where, they don't have to hit the road as much to the regional jail in Nelsonville when they're holding someone. But right now, if you have business with the public or business with the sheriff's office, whether, you're seeing an officer, you're filing a complaint, you're getting a background check, whatever, you go to this building at 31385 State Route 93. That's on the north end of MacArthur. Now, the deputies are still doing some work in the old building, but it's just a workstation right now for them. They will be transitioning to the new facility as well at some point in the very near future. The sheriff's office number remains the same, 740-596-5242. All right, well, I'm going to toss it back to you now because I know, especially here in the last month, we've had a lot of meetings or whatever.
Sir.
And I know you've covered a lot of important news, some of which has not been in the paper yet, so you can give us a preview.
Yeah, we'll go over some good news, sir. I know we sometimes got the bad news, but we'll go over some good news. Covered Jackson City School District Board of Education meeting earlier this month, and just wanted to touch on a few of the good stuff happening over there. So the first one we'll do, if Dylan can put it up, there is some students who got shout outs from the Jackson School Board. It's not that one. It's like a group photo would be the one you're looking for. And then we can discuss it. He's looking for it. Anyway, we'll talk about it here while he tries to find it. So Pete, last year in 2022, yes, that's the photo, Dylan. You can leave that up there. I'm going to talk about it. So in 2022, Jackson School Board President Brian Moore suggested starting student shout-outs during the school board meetings, Pete. And this past year, the students were just mentioned at the meetings. Well, one of the board members, I believe it was Butch Cooper, had mentioned to Moore, what about bringing the students in and recognize them during the meetings? Well, that's what they did during this first meeting in January. They had those students come in, and this was during the Thursday, January 12th meeting. And Moore went through, well, each of the school board members went through these student shout outs. And these student shout outs is kind of like a recognition for these students. And it's basically their shout outs to student success in all forms. So it could be like academics or something good that the student did or anything like that. So I'll go through and we'll talk about each of these real quick. In the photo from the left, you have Jackson School Board member Pat McDonald. And then you have Jackson School Board student representative Jade Winters, board member Butch Cooper with honoree, that's Ryder Stanford. And then board president Brian Moore with honoree Callie Wooten. And then board member Dr. Brian Morris with honoree Cooper Harris, and board vice president Kim Harless with honoree Abby Collins. Now, each of these students are from different schools, and each of the school board members had chosen the particular student. Dr. Morris had Westview Elementary, and his shout out was to fifth grade student Cooper Harris. And Dr. Morris explained that Harris is a gifted reader. He had gathered 180 AR points so far this 9 weeks, and according to the principal, a typical fifth grader does 15 to 20 AR points in a 9-week period.
Oh, wow, that's
great. That's a big,
very good,
big difference there. And according to Dr. Morris, Harris has read 1.3 million words this school year already. That's a lot.
I like to see the emphasis on reading.
Yes, and then Harless had Southview Elementary, and her shout out was to fifth grade student Abby Collins. And Harless explained that Collins is just a ray of sunshine and is always willing to help and likes to support the younger students at the school. So she kind of goes above and beyond. Moore had Northview Elementary, and the shout out was Callie Wooten. Moore explained that during the Apple Festival time this past year, Wooten helped raise money for the school by selling earrings and jewelry, and Moore thought this was great and had thanked her for doing that, stepping up and doing that. And we had Cooper had Jackson Middle School and announced that his shout out was to sixth grade student Ryder Stanford. Cooper explained that he plays guitar and that it was something that Stanford could carry on after school, that musical talent. And then McDonald had Jackson High School and announced that his shout out was to junior Callie Ratliff. And McDonald explained that when she was a freshman, she didn't come to school at all because she had some issues. And then as she began her sophomore year, it got better. And then this year, she has been to school every day and has had perfect attendance this school year. And he just thought that was really a really great improvement for her. And then Winters, the student representative there, has the option to do it as well, but she didn't have anybody for the January meeting, and she said she would try to find somebody for February. So just wanted to mention that just got a lot of good things going on there in the Jackson City Schools.
That is a wonderful tradition to start. Actually, they've done student recognitions at many of the meetings in the past. This a little bit more structured. It looks like they're trying to maybe identify somebody from each school or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, our other school districts, honestly, Wellston, Oak Hill, Vinton County, often do student recognition things as well. It's very nice, I think, for the students and the families to be in the spotlight there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good PR for the schools, and it lets the public know that there are a lot of good things going on in the schools.
Yes. Another good thing that happened during the school board meeting, You had Ohio Association of School Business Officials Executive Director Jim Rowland gave a presentation during the school board meeting, and he presented Jackson Treasurer Jared Bunning. Is it Bunning?
I believe that's right.
With the Board of Directors Leadership Scholarship, and what this scholarship was a $1,000 scholarship, and it was awarded to the school district, and they can give that scholarship to a senior at Jackson High School. And here's a picture of the two individuals, and you can see Mr. Rollin presenting that to Jared there during the school board meeting. But he mentioned that the scholarship was kind of a thank you of sorts, that every year that Bunnan serves on that board for the Ohio Association of School Board Business Officials, the school district will receive this $1,000 scholarship. And it was just kind of a way for that board to say thanks to Jackson City Schools for allowing the treasurer to help them in their endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really nice. Last thing I'll touch on here for Jackson School Board. So last year, Pete, they started with the student representative, and this year your student representative is Jade Winters, and there she is. She is serving this year as the student representative to the Jackson School Board. And like I was saying, last year they established this student representative program, and it was a concept to better communicate with the student body. And during the meeting in January, some of this came to fruition, and they were able to vote and change something that the student body wanted to see changed. And it had to do with the student handbook regarding hair color and style. And Winters had explained to the school board that some of the students had an issue with the dress code, particularly the hair color and the style, and they approached her to see what she could do about it. So she discussed the situation with Phil Howard, who's the superintendent there at Jackson City Schools, and they brought it to the school board, and the school board voted to relax that portion of the handbook, sir. So now the students, I guess, can wear whatever kind of collar they want or style it however they want. But I just thought that was neat to see something that the student, them listening to the student body through the student representative, which, the school board maybe wouldn't have heard from otherwise. So just wanted to share a little bit about that.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I'm guessing I had not read your story yet, Jeremiah, but I take it that the issue is whether a certain hair color that would not be normal, like a pink or purple or whatever, it must not have been allowed before.
Yeah, in the student handbook, it said that they could not. There was a portion of it that said that they could not have extreme hair colors or styles.
Right,
and that has been
taken. We're not talking about going from blonde to brunette or anything. We're talking about some unnatural color. And the truth is, more and more kids and adults, are doing, the non-natural colors there. And, probably when that first occurred and there were some kids that were doing it, it was considered a little radical and maybe, we're not going to allow that. And that was probably kind of like a standard response from authority. But, things kind of evolve and moderate over time a little bit. And, now it's not considered so radical. It's considered a personal choice. And so, I think it's a very natural and predictable decision. I remember way back when I was a freshman in high school, it was a big deal. It was part of the dress code. Students couldn't wear shorts. I mean, that was obviously out. But girls could not wear slacks, believe it or not. They could not wear pantsuits or slacks. It had to be dresses.
Okay. And
that was a big deal at Jackson High School in 1969, that they allowed girls to wear slacks. And that would seem so crazy now today. But at the time, it's just, what the mores are and the habits and what is considered okay. It changes. So that's another example. But I like the concept of having a student representative. not on there just for show, but to be a real conduit
Right.
between what's important to students or what they feel is important and the people who make the decisions for the schools, whether it's the administration or the school board.
Yep. And this
So,
is the
very
second
good. I
second
like-
student representative they've had in this program. Because
Right.
they started it late last year.
Yeah.
So the
It
first
was-
one only got to do like 6 months or
It was
5
the-
months or
it
something.
was the second half of the school year. It was
yeah.
Caleb McGraw.
It was, yes.
Do you remember Caleb doing that job? And there was a change that I forget what it is now, but there was a change that was made as a result of him being on a kind of like an ex officio member of the school board, basically, because
right.
these student representatives attend the school board meetings and they post the pictures and all.
Mhm.
They have a real voice. Doesn't mean that everything is going to fly.
Right.
That's how the
They
world
listen.
works.
They
But
listen and consider.
I think
so.
they do. Right.
One thing,
Well,
one thing I'd like to throw out there about the student representative is that they've been involving them with like classroom activities. So last year, the environmental science class pitched different ideas of how to change the school and make it more environmentally friendly, and we pitched that in front of Caleb McGraw. So
Okay.
it's pretty cool.
Well, see, it's democracy. That's what you call it.
Yeah, very good.
And at the end of the day, somebody has to make a decision.
Mhm.
It's not just you don't get everything you want, but that's how the process works. Your voice is heard. So that's very good. What's happening there at Jackson High School?
Yep. Throw
Oh,
it back to you, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. We do want to acknowledge that last Saturday evening, a good big time at the
Mhm.
Liberty Theater Community Center in Oak Hill, because this was the first organized event to celebrate Oak Hill's sesquicentennial.
Yep. 150 years. No, we're good.
150th anniversary. Say that.
150th
There you
anniversary.
go. There you go. James,
Happy birthday, Oak Hill.
James trying to force it on you.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, the sesquicentennial event this time was a free concert by the Sour Mash String Band. That is a regionally popular bluegrass band out of Parkersburg, West Virginia. However, there's a local connection. Harry Kuhn, well-known Oak Hill area musician, is a member of that group. And he and the other members of the group were there for a free concert. Went 3 hours
Oh,
at the
wow.
Liberty Theater Community Center. The Oak Hill Chamber sold pulled pork dinners that were provided there. And so it was a grand old time. And it's just the first of a series of events that are going to take place. We'll be covering them all year. Red Thompson Jr. was there.
No, very good. I'm sure Red enjoyed that.
I'm sure tapping his foot to the bluegrass.
sure,
He loves
yes.
bluegrass.
He does.
And we'll have some pictures, follow-up pictures to cover them there. But the next event will be February the 16th. And, history is always going to be part of any sesquicentennial, right?
Mhm.
And Mr. History, Bob Irvin, will be at the Liberty Theater Community Center at 7 p.m. on February the 16th for a historical film and reenactment. We'll try to find out a little bit more of the particulars on that. But once again, that is open to the public. You don't have to be from Oak Hill to go there, just like it was for the concert. But that'll be a nice event there. And then on the 25th of February, which is on a Saturday, will be the St. David's Day Luncheon. That is a regular annual event, unless there's, it gets canceled because of COVID or some other calamity. But that is considered one of the anniversary events, too, because of all the Welsh heritage in Oak Hill. And I believe that tickets for that are being sold by the Mad Dog Center of the University of Rio Grande. And I think you can go all the way till February 10th to get tickets. But you do have to get them in advance because it involves a very nice catered lunch.
Right.
All right. So kind of go to another concern vocationally and on the employment side. And this is a real issue. And I was very glad to see the Area Agency on Aging District 7 address this. And this is something, if you're not involved in it, you kind of yawn, but you shouldn't, because this is a big thing in society. And that is the home care department. It's an aging population, not just in Southern Ohio, but all over. And people are trying, families want their loved ones to be able to stay at home, but they can't do it by themselves. And it's hard for families. They don't have maybe the medical or the physical therapy know-how to adequately take care of their aging relatives, their parents or their grandparents or whatever. And so the need for home care and home care professionals has become more and more pronounced. Well, there is a shortage of these individuals, just like there seems to be a shortage of everything for some of these jobs. So the Area Agency on Aging, District 7, they cover 10 counties in southeastern and south central Ohio. That includes Jackson and Vinton counties. They had a big event over in Chillicothe on Friday, January 20th, just a little bit more than a week ago, and that was to address the workforce shortage in home care. And at that meeting, they invited a lot of stakeholders there, government people, social services people, assisted living people, nursing home professionals. There was the big group. You can see they were a big meeting room there. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to spotlight that there was a problem, bring public awareness to the problem, and brainstorm some of the possible solutions. And so, they got the ball rolling a little bit there. But one of the issues is adequate compensation. That's always going to be an issue in a buyer's market for jobs. If there's more jobs out there than there are people who are seeking jobs, a lot of times you need to pay a little bit more to retain somebody, or more importantly, to attract somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And it was identified that these jobs are important, they're in demand, and the compensation should be higher because they are relatively low-paid jobs,
Okay.
even though they are professional jobs and very important. So that was a kind of like a big roundtable discussion that was really regional, and that story will be in the Telegram as well, a little bit more detail.
Okay.
All right. As we have said before, Jackson County has a new congressman, and Vinton County has a new congressman. He is Republican Brad Wenstrup. Mr. Wenstrup is from Cincinnati. He has been a congressman for nearly 10 years, but he is new to both Jackson and Vinton counties because the legislative boundaries changed. Both Jackson and in last year, Jackson was part of the 6th district, represented by Congressman Bill Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
Republican, and Vinton County was represented by Congressman Mike Carey in the 15th district. Well, now they're both in the 2nd district, which goes across the bottom part of the state, almost all the way from Cincinnati all the way to the Ohio River, far south end. And both Jackson County and Vinton County are in there. Well, Mr. Wenstrup is going to have his staff do mobile office hours in many of these counties, including Jackson and Vinton counties. This is an opportunity not to meet him. I don't think he will be there, but his staff will be there.
Mm-hmm.
He can become acquainted with the congressman this way. But what they are is it's an opportunity without having to make a long distance call or go out of county. It's an opportunity to go in your own county and have your say about the federal government. Maybe you need help with something. Maybe you need help with something like Social Security, Medicare, or some kind of contact within the government where these folks that represent the congressman can help you or help solve a problem. Both of those meetings are going to be on Thursday with Mr. Wenstrup's staff, one in MacArthur and one in Jackson. The MacArthur meeting will be Thursday, February 2nd from 10 a.m. to noon at the Vinton County Development Department. That's at 205 South Market Street. That is right across the street from the courthouse there on State Route 93.
Okay.
The Jackson meeting for Jackson County will be Thursday as well in the afternoon. Could very well be the same staff person involved. Thursday, February 2nd from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Office Commons. That's at 135 Huron Street, right there at the corner of Huron and Burlington Road.
Mm-hmm.
And the staff can help constituents with such things as Social Security, Medicare, tax returns, working with the IRS, veterans help, VA claims, anything involving with the federal government. They can help you solve that problem, make a contact, answer a question, all those things. And so very good that those mobile office hours are taking place once again Thursday, February 2nd in the morning at the Development Department in MacArthur, the Vinton County Development Department, and in the afternoon at the Office Commons in Jackson.
Very good, sir.
All right. A couple of other little things we want to tell you about. Kirsten Williams, very talented young lady. Her artwork is featured at the Jackson City Library.
Okay.
And she had an opening reception about a week ago, but her art is still there in the library. James, is it in the Potter Room? Or in the main library?
I don't know the names of the room, but it's in the big meeting room.
It's the Potter Room. it is connected to the library. You can get to it from through the main library, but there's also a door on the outside, more
There's an
direct
access,
access.
access
That
door.
is their meeting room, but it's also a room where there's room for a nice wall space to a display. And Kirsten Williamson's art exhibit is in there during regular library hours. That's at 21 Broadway Street in the Potter Room. There's Kirsten right there by two of her works. That artwork and her display will remain there at the library in the Potter Room until February the 10th. And they didn't give hours, but I'm imagining it's during regular library hours. And the library is open 6 days a week, different hours. So congratulations to Kirsten Williamson. Of course, we had her on television.
Yeah.
We've had a feature article in the paper on her. And Roger Donaldson, who is very community oriented down there, the library director, he wanted to have her exhibit there in the Potter Room. Another event coming up that we want to tell you about, the Hope United Methodist Church in Wellston. They do this twice a month. They're going to have a free community dinner this Wednesday evening, February 1st, from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And even though it's at the church, it is open to the public. It's kind of an outreach thing. It's their way. It's a kind of like gift to the community, not just for the folks that maybe need a meal. It's a social thing as well, a community thing. You can go and dine in. If you call ahead, you can do carry out. If you call ahead and you're not too far from the church there, they'll even consider delivery. But the menu this time, yum, yum, pork roast, baked beans, coleslaw, dessert, and a drink. And you know what? The price?
It's
Nada,
good.
zero.
Yeah.
Right. Dine-in service will be provided. The church is at the corner of First Street and New York Avenue in Wellston. So congratulations to them. Jeremiah, I'll turn it over to you real quick. I've got some sports to talk about at the end, but is there something else in the news maybe that you have?
Yeah, we'll touch on two things real quick. We'll go to the village of Colton real quick. Just as a reminder, there will be a Colton Village construction meeting to discuss the ongoing sewer project on Wednesday, February 1st. That's this Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the Colton Village building, or the Colton Community Building. The community is welcome to attend these meetings to learn more and to ask questions about that ongoing project. These meetings are held monthly, the first Wednesday of the month, Pete.
Okay.
And it's a good time to come in and ask any questions you may have. I know there was a lot of folks in the village that were upset about them tearing up their yards and this and that. So you can come in and ask whatever kind of question you want to these folks, and I'm sure they'll be able to give you an answer. Move to the city of Wellston real quick. Wellston Fire Chief Ryan Pelletier was in during the most recent Wellston City Council meeting, which was held on Thursday, January 19th, and he released his yearly report for the county year 2022, Pete. And his data that he released, he said that the fire department responded to 475 calls for service. The department... Of that 475, the department responded to 26 structure fires inside the city, and there were 0 fire-related deaths to report, so that's always good. And the fire department also had 0 fire personnel deaths or injuries to report, so that's good as well. And the department spent over 40 hours in school so they have a fire academy at the city of Wellston. So they were able to do some in-house teaching of fire safety and inspecting, and they did over 40 hours on that. The department completed its annual fire safety inspection program of all the businesses in Wellston, which totaled to 176 inspections, Pete. That sounds like a high number to me.
That's a lot. That's kind of behind the scenes. You don't realize that these fire departments do those sort of things.
Right. And speaking about the fire academy, he said that it was a proactive year, and they trained over 500 students from across the state, and the academy showed a net profit of $35,000. So that's a real quick rundown of that report that he gave. So we'll toss it back to you for some sports, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. 475 calls. You know how many days there are in a year. So, I mean, it's a busy department.
It is
busy. We may have small towns here, but those fire departments have to remain on the hustle. And, when the call comes, you go.
Right.
if you possibly can.
Yes.
All right. Well, on the sports side, we did have, I think, some noteworthy news to report. First of all, I was at the game on Friday night where the Jackson Ironmen hosted the Greenfield McLean Tigers. This was a Frontier Athletic Conference game. And, we're getting in towards the end of the season, so, they're all important. But Jackson was able to win that game 70-39. And let me tell you, I've not seen such a big crowd at a basketball game here in Jackson for some time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't count everybody, but just by sight. And what was going on, it was just not people wanting to see the game, but it was evidence of some foundation building for the basketball program. Because the Jackson Youth Athletic Organization has youth basketball now. And all the little girls and all the little boys and we're talking about the elementary ages, they were invited to come to the meeting or to the game, and they were special guests, and they got out on the court and were introduced, in front of all the crowd.
That's fun.
Also, I can tell you this, there is the farm system for the cheerleaders is big too.
Mm-hmm.
There must have been about 100 little cheerleaders there as well too. And, you're talking, and they got to perform at halftime. You're talking about once again kids as young as the first grade all the way into elementary.
Okay.
And this exposed them to what Friday night is at the high school. Probably got them excited about continuing.
Yes.
And obviously, it was a program building type thing. And you had a lot of adults who were probably maybe at a varsity basketball game for the first time because their kids were there. And, they got to see a game and be exposed to that as well. And it was a good night for Jackson because they won big. And there was a couple of special presentations that happened to occur as well. Jackson High School Athletic Director, former Jackson High School Athletic Director, Pat Stevens,
Mm-hmm.
he has been athletic director at Jackson for the past 6 years. He retired, and his retirement took effect right in the middle of the school year. Waylon Massey is the new athletic director.
Right.
But Pat was honored before the game by Jackson High School principal Tyler Swackhammer, and there is Pat Stevens right in the middle there holding his plaque, very proud and touched by it. That's his wife, Kathy, there to his right, and a smiling Jackson High School principal Tyler Swackhammer had the honor of presenting the plaque. But Pat has been an athletic director in Southern Ohio for 23 years. He was actually at Greenfield for 17 years as the athletic director before that. So it was only right that he got the plaque in front of some of the Greenfield fans that he knows so well.
That's cool.
In addition, I think that was planned that way. But Pat recently retired. He has won statewide awards and peer awards for his work as an athletic director. And so this was the school's and the athletic department's way of thanking him publicly, and he got to receive a standing ovation from all those people that were at that game. And as I said, we've got that picture posted, on our website and also on our Facebook. And we're going to have a in-depth story about Pat Stevens and the impact that he had on the Jackson High School Athletic Department and the Jackson schools in an upcoming edition of the Telegram. We've already done the interview, just have to do the work and get it out. But Pat, even though he was at Greenfield for 17 years before that, he coached at Hillsborough. He was a college coach at Southern State Community College in Hillsborough. He taught 1 year, I think, at East Clinton, which is in that area of Southwest Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
But he is from Jackson. He graduated from Jackson High School, was a great basketball player here. He made his career away from Jackson and then came back to Jackson at the end of his career and did a wonderful job.
Very good.
Another nice event that occurred after the victory, after the Ironmen won the victory over Greenfield McLean, when Max Morrow came up to be interviewed by our broadcast crew, he always comes up, win or lose, always brings up some players. His father, Dan Morrow, who is my broadcast partner for the basketball games, presented him with a poster because this was Max's 100th victory as a Jackson High School basketball coach. And there is that picture.
Wow.
Max is a fairly young guy, but he has already won 100 games as Jackson High School's head boys coach. Only one person is ahead of him on the all-time coaching list, and that is Dave Fisher, the late Dave Fisher, 150-some wins. So Max has got to go a ways to get there, but 100 wins already. He is pictured there with three of his players who happened to come up for the interview. Braden Stapleton there from left to right, Charlie Woodard, of course, Coach Max Morrow, and then Bodie Wolford. But congratulations to Coach Morrow on his 100th victory.
Yes, congratulations.
So also on that night, it was a big win for Jackson, but it was also a big win for the Benton County Vikings that night. Coach N.J. Kite, who is from Jackson as well, he is the new first-year coach at Benton County after many years being the assistant coach there. His Vikings beat Nelsonville York 55-44 at home. Tell you how important it was. Benton County was tied for first going into that game with Alexander and Nelsonville York. Nelsonville York they took care of by beating 55-44. But Alexander, who also had been first, was upset by Athens in another game being played that night. So Benton County is now alone in first place in the Tri-Valley Conference's Ohio Division. And so those were just two of the games. There were many other games this past weekend as well. There's lots of games coming up in the future. We looked at the weather. It may get a little colder, but we're really not expecting any severe weather for a while. So basketball still coming at us.
Very good, sir.
All right.
Does that include that? I wrap you up, sir?
We have hit the hour, sir.
Hit the hour. It is time. So we'll go ahead and sign off for the day. Thank you for tuning in to Main Street TV, and we look forward to seeing you back tomorrow.
All right. Have
Bye.
a great day, folks. This just in.
The Telegram News has a new website.
thetelegramnews.com.
Same dedicated coverage.
Same trustworthy news with a brand new look.
Covering Jackson and Benton counties and surrounding areas.
Locally owned and operated, thetelegramnews.com has its finger on the pulse of the community.
Stay up to date on local events, high school sports, and breaking news.
thetelegramnews.com.
Subscribe today at thetelegramnews.com.
Check it out.